And Jesus said, you've abused that. God's word never was to justify or legalize divorce under all circumstances. Wouldn't it have been nice if some legislators and some citizens in this state and in this country would have read that several decades ago when no-fault divorce found its way into the statutes of this country? I mean, we hear so much about the culture today, and I hear people say all the time, oh man, when we lost prayer in schools and we took that out in the 60s, that was the worst thing we could have ever done. I've heard that. I've heard people that have said when we allowed mothers to abort their unborn children in the early 70s, that was the worst thing that we ever did to break down the culture. I've heard that. I've heard when we took the 10 Commandments out of the schools in the 80s, that was just disastrous, and that was the beginning of the downturn. I've heard that. And believe me, I speak to those issues, and I've said very clearly, and you've heard me speak to them numbers of times, those were critical points along the way. But if you ask Mark Harris, what do you think the turning point was in the culture? Here's what I'll tell you. It's when in the late 60s and early 70s, a new little feature starting in California began to sweep the nation, and it was something called no-fault divorce. And when no-fault divorce became the law of the land, you saw the crack in the foundation of family in this country that ultimately would remove prayer further than just from the schools, that would add to the flavor of abortion on demand.